Okay guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Tips and Gist. If today is your first time coming here, I will encourage you to subscribe to this very channel because you are going to get lots of information on this channel. Fast forward, today we are going to cover Canada work permit. Okay, other countries call it work visa, but Canada prefer to call it a work permit. Before you can get a work permit, you first have to go and search for a job. So I have a separate video on that, how to search for Canada jobs that is going to give you a visa sponsorship, or jobs that have the LMIA to enable you get a work permit. Okay, so fast forward, today we are going to learn about how to apply for a Canada work permit. So we are assuming that we have gone to search for the job. The employer has given us the employment contract. Okay, so together with this employment contract, we are going to see how we can add other documents to it to apply for our work permit that will enable us to go to Canada to stay and work. All right, so we are going to cover the overview, and during this stage we are going to look at the types of work permits that Canada has for us. Okay, and when we are done, we are going to look at the general process summary. Okay, so I am going to teach you from your start to the end in a summary form, from your application stage to how you can enter Canada. Okay, and when I am done, we are going to do the detailed application online. How you can gather your documents, go online and apply for this permit. Okay, so stick and stay. As I already said, if you do not have a job yet, you have to watch my other video, that is Canada sponsorship jobs. Okay, how to hunt for jobs that is going to give you a visa sponsorship. So let's go straight to today's topic, how to apply for a work permit after we have gotten an employment contract. So guys, we are going straight on Google to search the Canada.ca. That is the Government of Canada website where we can get a visa and immigration information. So I prefer typing Canada visa on Google, then I click on enter. Okay, then I am going to scroll down until I see the Canada.ca. Let me zoom out for you to see. Okay, Canada.ca. You are going to see this logo beside it to know that it is the official website. Okay, so we click on it, it brings us to the website. Okay, then we click on the immigration and citizenship. Okay, immigration and citizenship. All right, then we have to scroll down. When you scroll down, you are going to see categories of visas here: for visit, immigrate, work, study, citizenship, new immigrants, a whole lot. So we are going straight to the work. Okay, when we come to the work, we are going to scroll down to where we says get a work permit. Okay, get a work permit. All right, so here too we have work permit for business people, for temporary workers, students, a whole lot. Okay, so we are going straight to the temporary workers. All right, then they are telling us to apply for a work permit. Okay, so we are going to click on apply for a work permit. All right, so guys, here we are. The work permit, we are going to discuss about 7 processes. The first one is about the process. The second is who can apply. Third, how to apply. Fourth, after you apply. Fifth, prepare for your arrival. Sixth, when you start working. And 7, bringing your family with you. Okay, so guys, when we scroll down about the process, they are telling us that to work in Canada, you need a work permit, as I said earlier. So they have 2 types of work permits. Okay, there are 2 types of work permits. The first one is the employer specific work permit. Okay, employer specific work permit. And when we go down here, we are going to see the second one, the open work permit. So first, the employer specific work permit. Okay, it says an employer specific work permit lets you work in Canada according to the conditions on your work permit, such as the name of the employer, how long you can work, the location where you can work. So as I said earlier, when you go to hunt for a job, let's say you go to job bank to search for a job, and then an employer agrees to work with you, the employer issues the employment contract to you. You are coming to apply for this employer specific work permit because you already have an employer. So on your work permit, you are going to see the name of your employer, how long the employer is sponsoring you. So if the employer is saying that he or she is sponsoring for 3 years, that means you will be given a 3 years work permit, okay, or a 3 years visa. If you are being sponsored for 5 years, that means that you will get a 5 years work visa or a 5 years work permit, okay. The other one is the location where you can work. So wherever the employer is in Canada, the location will be written on your work permit. That means you are going to work at that location. Okay, and so before you can apply for employer specific work permit, your employer must give you, okay, your employer. That is why I told you that you first have to go to job bank, go and search for some of the jobs, okay, get an employer first, so that the employer must give you a copy of your employment contract. All right, a copy of the employment contract, okay, as well as one of the following, either a copy of the LMIA. LMIA is Labor Market Impact Assessment. So there a copy of the LMIA. There are lots of employers who are registered with this LMIA, and they can be found on the job bank. So such employers are going to give you the copy of the LMIA. Okay, some employers too are not part, they have the LMIA exempt workers. Okay, so if the employer is part of that, then they are going to get you the employment number. All right, okay, so to get this number, the employer will use the employer portal. So that is not your duty, that is the duty of the employer to either provide you the LMIA copy or the employment number. Okay, so the next one is the open work permit. And with the open work permit, it says that an open work permit lets you work for any employer in Canada, okay, except those who are ineligible. So there are some employers who are ineligible, okay, they do not have license to employ you as an international applicant. So this open work permit is given to people who want to work for any employer without having a specific employer. A critical example is you go to look for a job on job bank, you have your employer, you go and apply for the first one, the employer specific work permit, and your wife is going with you. Definitely your wife will also work when she gets to Canada, okay? So you have to apply for the open work permit for your wife because your wife is not having an employer yet, so that when your wife gets to Canada, she can work for any employer in Canada. The only work that you cannot do when you go to Canada is a striptease, erotic dance, erotic massages, and a whole lot, okay? So they have listed some jobs that you cannot do when you go to Canada. All right, when we go down here, they said if you want to bring your family with you. So if you want to bring your family with you, your wife or common law partner and dependent children may be able to work, study, or live with you while you are working in Canada. So that is what I earlier explained, that your wife can apply for the open work permit that you would be able to work. Your children can apply for a study permit that will enable them to study, and they all can live with you whilst you are working in Canada with your employer specific work permit. All right, let's move on to the second one. Who can apply for work permit in Canada? They are saying that eligibility requirements for all applicants. There are some specific requirements you may need depending on where you are applying from. Okay, so if you are in Ghana, Nigeria, or wherever you are applying from, the requirements might be a bit different, but they have some general requirements for everybody. Okay, regardless where you are applying from, these are some general requirements. Okay, so you have to prove to the officer that you leave Canada when your work permit expires. The underlined word is expires, okay? So people ask me that when you get a work permit, is it that after working you are coming straight to your home country? I said no. The word here is work permit expires. So that means that you do not have to wait till it expires, okay? So when you are working and you see that your work permit is about to expire, you can alert your employer who renew your contract. So the employer can renew the work permit for you. Or if the employer is not willing to do that, then you have to search for another job that will give you employment contract, apply for a different work permit, and move to that new work permit. All right. So the clause here is when your work permit expires without you renewing it, then that means you have to leave Canada. Okay. The second one is you have to also show that you have enough money to take care of yourself and your family members during your stay in Canada and to return home. You have to prove that the first month of your stay in Canada, okay, because we all know that when you get to Canada, you are going to pass through series of processes to open bank accounts, to do this, to do that. So it will take like a month before you will be able to receive salary. Okay, so when you go to Canada with your wife and your kids, that first month you should prove that you have enough money to take care of yourself and your family as well. Okay, then you have to obey the law and have no criminal activity. So you have to get a police clearance certificate or a police report that shows that you have no record of criminal activity or criminal convictions. All right, so the other one is you have to show that you are not danger to Canada security. All right, then also you have to be in good health, so you will need a medical examination or a medical report. Then, as I said, you don't have to go and work for any ineligible employer. Okay, so it means that the employer that is sponsoring you must be eligible, otherwise they will not give the work permit to you. Okay, then when you go to Canada, you also have to prove that you're not going to work for any employer who offers this striptease, erotic dance, erotic massages. Okay, you have to stay away from those jobs. Okay, then you have to also give the officer any document they ask for to prove that you can enter the country. So if the officers ask for your marriage certificate, you have to. If they ask for your birth cert, you have to. If they ask for your medicals, you have to. Any documents that they are requesting for you to be able to enter Canada, you have to give to the officers. So if you are applying from outside Canada, eligibility requirements, if you apply from outside Canada, they are saying that there may be visa office requirements that you need depending on the country where you are applying from. So you have to click on this, how to apply, then you see. If you are applying from inside Canada, you can only apply for a work permit from inside Canada if you have a valid study or work permit. Okay, so I told you that when you are already on one work permit and it is about to expire, but the employer do not need or do not want to extend it for you, you can apply for another one. Okay, so if you're on a work permit, you can apply for a different work permit. If you're on a study permit, you can also apply for a work permit. That is when you complete your education. Okay, then your wife, your partner, your parents can also have a valid work permit. Your children can also have a valid study permit. Okay, so they can also apply. They are all eligible. All right, so they are all these you can read through. All right, let's go to number 3, how to apply. So they are saying that your online account is still available during the Government of Canada labor disruption. So you can continue to apply online or to mail your application to the IRCC. People ask me that, is it compulsory to only apply online? No, you can mail applications to the IRCC, but this is quite tedious. Okay, the simplest way to do is to apply online. Okay, so how to apply? You need to apply online for a work permit, but you have to answer some few questions to find out how to apply. So they are going to ask you, where are you applying from? So we are applying outside Canada. Okay, from outside Canada, we click on outside Canada. Then the next question is, choose the best that describes you. Okay, are you a Ukrainian national? Are you on a postgraduate work permit, or you are other type of worker? So I am another type of worker. We click on it, and it tells us this. To get the forms you need, you have to tell us how you are applying and where you are applying from. Okay, so here we can go straight to the get the application to work in Canada. All right, so this is the stage where we apply. But for the sake of this video, I told you that we are doing the summary, then later we will come back and learn how to apply. So let's jump to the next stage. That is after we have done our application. Okay, so then number 4, after you apply, what is going to happen? So when you submit your application, they are going to book you for a biometrics. Okay, you are going to get a date where you can go and do your biometrics, and the biometrics is your fingerprint, as well as they will take you a photo. Okay, so if you can book an appointment by the deadline in your biometric instruction letter, there may be temporary measures in place to help you. But what they are trying to say is you have to book biometric collection appointment as soon as possible. All right, so when we come down here, how do they process your application? They are saying that They will check your application to make sure that you have all the necessary documents, including the biometrics. If it's incomplete, that means they are going to return your application without processing it, okay? An officer will also check the list of employers, so the officer will check if the employer who gave you the contract even qualifies before they know that you qualify for the work permit. They may also ask you. So here is they may. People ask me that, are we going for interview? I said it's optional. So in some cases, they may ask you to go for an interview, okay, with their officials in your country, all right? Or they can say send some more information or documents, okay? Okay, when we go down here, what do they have? They are saying that if you are going to stay in Canada, okay, over 6 months, you will need a medical report or a medical exams, okay? So if your work permit application is approved, what is going to happen? You will get an approval letter that says you are allowed to work in Canada, okay? An approval letter that says you are allowed to work in Canada. This letter is called the Port of Entry Letter of Introduction. Letter of introduction, please. Letter of introduction. You should bring this letter with you when you travel to Canada and present it at the port of entry. This letter is not your work permit. So I always tell people that when you apply for the work permit, you are not going to get this work permit in your home country, okay? They are going to give you the letter of introduction. And so when you are going to Canada, you take the letter of introduction alongside. So when you get to their border, okay, or their port of entry, that is their airport, they are going to take the letter of introduction and print your work permit for you. So when you go down here, they say you only get your work permit at the port of entry the day you arrive in Canada. You see? So the day you arrive in Canada, that is when you get your work permit. Okay, your work permit will outline the type of work you can do, the employer you can work for, where you can work, and how long you can work. All right. If you are inside Canada, you also have your own way, so you can go and read about that. All right. Let's go down. Let's go to the next one. The next one is prepare for your arrival. There are a few things you should know before you arrive in Canada to work. Okay? So your documents, when you arrive in Canada, what will happen? What are the documents? You will need your passport, your visitor visa, as well as any travel documents you are carrying. Someone is asking me why a visitor visa. This is because they only gave you introductory letter or letter of introduction. They have not printed the work permit for you. Okay, so they cannot give you a work visa. You only get a work visa when the work permit is given to you. So they are saying that they are going to give you a visitor visa, and this visa will allow you to board the plane ticket, okay, together with the introductory letter, so that when you go there, you go and get the work permit to allow you to work. All right. Then you may also need to prove that your work permit application was approved. That is the introduction letter or the letter of introduction. So one way to do this is to show the border officers that you have the letter of introduction, okay? You will get this letter if you applied online, or yes, so definitely we are going to apply online. So that is where we will get our letter of introduction. You can print this letter, or you can bring the electronic version. So it can be on your phone as a PDF, or you can print it and show the officers. All right. So you should also bring supporting documents such as proof that you meet the requirements of the job, okay, such as work experience, education. When we go deep down to the documents side during the application, I'm going to talk much about this, okay? All right. Then a copy of the employer's, the LMIA, okay, that I told you earlier, okay, or the employment number if that person is not part of the LMIA. All right. When you arrive in Canada, what happens? We check your identity. So they are going to check your identity. Okay, so we check your identity to make sure that you are the same person who applied to travel to Canada. Wow. So if you enter Canada at a certain Canadian airport, okay, your fingerprint will be checked automatically at a primary inspection kiosk. So they are going to take you to this place, the primary inspection kiosk, okay, and check your fingerprint to make sure that it matches with your official, the first one that you want to do during the visa application or the permit application. All right. Then the system will check your identity against the information collected when your application was submitted. Okay. However, if you don't pass through the airport, but through all lands of port entry or smaller airports, then they are going to take you to the secondary inspection. So your fingerprints will be done there. Okay. Then they also do verification. Okay. We will use a fingerprint verification device to check your fingerprints. Okay. You will talk to the border officer. Tell the border service officer that you have come here to work and show the documents you brought with you. So your introductory letter and the documents that you have, you show to the border service officer that you are coming to Canada to work. You won't be allowed to enter Canada if you give a false information. You won't be allowed into Canada if you give a false or incomplete information. What is a false information? Information that is different from what they have on their system. Incomplete information, even if you are telling the truth or you are saying what is on their system, but you don't give full information. Incomplete information, they are not going to allow you to enter. They are going to let you go back to your home country. All right. So you must also convince to the officer that you meet the Canada entry requirements. Then you also have to tell the officer that you will leave Canada at the end of your stay. You don't need to go and tell the officer that you are going to extend your visa. Just tell the officer that you are going to leave the country at the end of your stay. You will need to get another medical exams if your results expire before you enter Canada. So let's say you went to do a medical examination, you get there and they see that your medical report has expired. That means you have to do another medical exams. Okay, the officer will make the final decision to issue you a work permit and allow you to enter Canada. So it is their airport where they decide whether you are entering or you are going back to wherever you came from. We print your work permit. Okay, once your border service officer has checked your documents and confirmed that you can enter Canada, the officer will print the actual work permit for you. If you have questions or there are mistakes in your work permit, ask the officer before you leave. Then your passport must be valid for longer than the time you plan to be in Canada. So let's say you are going to stay in Canada for 3 years, but your passport will expire in 2 years' time. They will not allow you. It should be longer, okay, than when you intend to stay in Canada, how long you intend to stay. Okay, so the next stage, when you start working. Okay, so here they have understand the conditions on your permit. Okay, so you have to read what your work permit is telling you. Okay, then you have to get a social insurance number. Okay, that is the SIN. It's a 9-digit number that you will need to work in Canada and to also access government programs and benefits. You should apply for this SIN as soon as possible after you arrive in Canada. So when you get to Canada, you have to apply for this SIN to be able to work. Okay, to apply for the SIN, contact the nearest Service Canada office. All right. Understand your right as a foreign worker. They have the Canadian laws over there. You have to go through at your free time. Okay, so the last one is bringing your family with you. So I told you earlier that you can take your spouse, that is your wife if you're a man, or if you're a woman, that is your husband. You can take them along with your dependent children as well. If they plan to work with you in Canada, in some cases, your spouse or common law partner may be able to apply for an open work permit. I told you that will allow them to work for any employer. However, if they are not eligible for an open work permit, then they must be eligible. For another type of work permit. All right. Okay. So what about if your partner do not want to go with you or they don't want to work in Canada? Then they can either come as a visitor, or if they want to study, then they can apply for the study permit. Okay. So you have options for your dependent children. They can also come as a visitor, or as a student, or as a worker. All right. So that is that for the summary. We are going straight to learn how to apply for this visa when we are having all our documents ready. All right, stick and stay, guys. I'll be back. Welcome, guys, to the part 2 of this Canada visa process. In this section, we are going to cover how to apply for this work permit all by ourselves. Okay, sit in our room, get a laptop, an internet connection, and apply by ourselves. And so we are going to learn how to apply for this Canada work visa or this Canada work permit. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the process. Then I am also going to take you through the various documents. Okay, also we are going to look at how to apply online. We need to first create an IRCC account. Okay, you have to create an account that will enable us apply online. After that, we are going to look at the eligibility questionnaires. So it's gonna be like questions and answers, okay, during the application stages. And the final stage will be the document submission. So stick and stay. I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. I am on the Canada.ca. That is the Government of Canada website, and we are here to apply online. Okay, so apply online for a work permit. You must apply online for a work permit. So who is eligible on paper? We are not using the paper form. We are doing the online today. So they are asking us a question. How are you applying? So we are going to select online. Okay. Then the second question will be, where are you applying from? So here you are going to choose the country where you are applying from. And you have to take note that some countries have some specific requirements. Aside the general requirements, the country that you type there will add up some other requirements. So you have to know which country you are applying from and choose accordingly. Okay, so you see online application from Ghana. I'm choosing Ghana because I am from Ghana. So before you apply online, you have to make sure that one, you have the instruction guide to fill out the forms. Okay, this instruction guide is going to teach you how to fill the form, and that is exactly what I am doing. Okay, so if you listen to this video, you might not even have to go through this instruction guide. Okay, however, if you don't understand any part of this video, then you must download this instruction guide to aid you in the process. The second one is visa office requirement applicants for Ghana. Say you are from Nigeria, it is going to say visa office requirements for applicants in Nigeria. So wherever you are, your country is going to be stated there. Okay, the third one is a scanner or a camera. Why are they saying you should have a scanner or a camera? Because most of your documents are paper form, so you need a camera or a scanner which you can convert this into JPG or a PDF format. Then the last one, you should have a valid credit or debit card. Okay, a valid credit or debit card. You need this to make payment. Since you are applying online, you are going to make payment for this visa application fee. You should be prepared to pay for the visa application fee, biometric fees, and some other fees. Okay, we will get there. If you have all these four, then you have to create an account and sign in. Okay, but before we come to create the account, let's go to look at some of the requirements. Okay, so these are the requirements for people in Ghana. As I told you, select your country and know your requirements, but all the countries have like 90% the same requirements. Okay, so if you use this as an example, you are going to get it. All right, so this is Canada work permit. Okay, for Accra visa office instructions. Accra is the capital town of Ghana. So they are saying application for work permit checklist. Complete and place this checklist on top of your application. All right. Include a certified translation of any documents that is not in English or French. So if your documents are not in English or French, you should have a translation of those documents. Failure to submit all the required documents or the documentation may result in the refusal of your application or processing delays. Okay, a medical exams is also required. Before we go through the documents, they are asking a question here, that are we applying alone or we are adding some people to it? Are we adding our spouse and children to it? So you have to answer these questions. Okay, if your spouse or common law partner is going with you, what type of work permit do you need? Do you need the open work permit or the temporary resident visa? So if you need the open work permit, then you should type the number here. Okay, if you need one, you should type the number here. Then your minor children who will be accompanying you, okay, do they need a study permit to go and school in Canada? and those children should be between 6 years to 18 years. So if you need a study permit for your children, then you should state the number of study permits you need. Let's say your children are 4 and all of them are going to school, then you should state 4. Okay? All right. The next is dependent over 18 years. So if you are going with any dependent over 18 years who will go to school, okay, that means the person needs a study permit. So you have to apply for them. They should be between the ages of 18 to 22 years. Now we are here for the specific requirements or the documents. The first one is 2 passport photographs for each applicant. Okay, so you, your spouse, and your children, they all need 2 passport photographs each. Okay, you need 2, your spouse need 2, your dependent children need 2 each. So the photographs must be signed, dated, and taken in the past 6 months. Okay, it shouldn't be an old photograph over 6 months, a current photograph. Then original passport. You, yourself, your family, each of them, they all need a passport. The passport must show that you are a citizen of that country. It should be valid for the duration of your stay. Let's say you are going to work for 5 years, then your passport must be valid more than even that 5 years. Again, it should have 2 blank pages and a minimum of 6 months validity. Then be accompanied by a copy of the passport biodata page. Okay, so when you talk about the biodata, that is the page when you open your passport where your picture is, where your name, your date of birth, your sex, your country, place of issue, expiry dates, and all those information. That is the biodata. You should take a picture and convert into PDF and submit to them. All right, the next document is your CV, curriculum vitae, or the resume. That resume that you used to apply for that job, you should submit it to the visa office. It should be up to date for yourself and your accompanying spouse. If your wife or your husband is going with you and they are going to work in Canada, then you have to submit their CV as well. The next is evidence that you meet the requirements of the job offer. Okay, evidence that you meet the requirements of the job offer. For instance, or for example, employment references outlining previous job and duties, copies of relevant educational certificates, proof of professional qualifications. So employment references such as recommendation letters or appointment letters, okay, a copy of relevant education certificates, you know that your senior high school, if you have a degree, a master's, a diploma, or even professional certificates or qualifications like teachers, nurses who have professional qualifications, you have to submit your certificates as well. Then original police clearance certificates. As we discussed, you need to get a police form, a police report indicating that you do not have any criminal convictions in your country. All right. Then proof of employment. So a letter from your current employer and pay slips, that is last 3 months. So your current employer, okay, you have to get a recommendation letter from that employer saying that, oh, I have accepted and I have even recommended this person to go to Canada to go and work with the other company. Okay, so your employer has to give a recommendation letter. Then you have to also attach at least 3 pay slips to it, indicating that you are doing the work. Okay, so the next is if a minor is traveling with only one parent or without the parent, you need a custody document or notarized permission from the other parent. Okay, so if let's say you are a husband and you are going alone without your wife and you have your child going with you, then you have to seek permission from your wife. Your wife must provide a permission letter that she has accepted you take your child along. If applicable, you must also submit the following documents. One is marriage certificate and birth certificate for each family member, whether or not they are requesting for a visa. So once you are applying, if you have a wife or a husband and children, even if they are not going with you, you have to submit your proof of relationship. So their birth certificate, marriage certificate, you have to submit it. All right. Then previous passports showing traveling history. If not available, then provide a list of your international travels during the past 5 years. But if it's available, then you have to give a copy of that passport. Okay. Then proof of business. if you are self-employed, for example, business registration, tax clearance certificates, trade certificates, licenses, and a whole lot. So if you are self-employed, then you should provide your business certificate as well as your tax clearance certificate. Then the last is health insurance. If you are employer, okay, the one you are going to work for in Canada is providing for your health insurance, then you do not have to purchase a private health insurance. But if they are not sponsoring you, then it means that you have to purchase your own private health insurance. Okay, nurses applicants applying in the following categories, such as nurses, doctors, and other medical professionals. So you have to note that you undergo a medical examination. That is even not the case, but you need to have the necessary license or registration. You know that before you can practice as a nurse or a medical doctor in Canada, you need to get their license. Nurses write NCLEX, IELTS, and a whole lot. Doctors too have their own examination. So you have to go through all that process, get your license, and get a verification from Canada body. Then live-in caregivers, those going to do this job in Canada, you know that the government of Canada has a program for you guys that you have to enroll and get a certificate. So if you have done that and you have your certificate, then you also have to fill in if you are going to do that job. So the rest is for those going to do the live-in caregiver. You have to fill all this questionnaire. Guys, this is a summary of all the documents you will need to apply for a Canada work permit according to the Immigration Canada. All right, so when you go on their platform, try and select your country and get to know the difference. Try to select your country here, okay, so that you will know if your country has different requirements. Thank you very much. Now let's go and create an account and start our application process. How to create an account to be able to apply for the work permit online. You need to sign in your IRCC secure account. Okay, so since we are not having that account, we are going to create an account. So we are going to register. But if you have this IRCC account already, especially those who created account to hunt for jobs on Job Bank Canada, then you can use that same account to log in. Okay. All right, so we are going to register since we do not have an account. We click on the register, then it will ask us two questions: that are we registering with the CG key or are we registering with the sign-in partner? If you don't have a Canadian banking information, use the CG key. All right, so they say there are two ways you can register, but I will recommend you use the CG key since you do not have a Canadian banking information for this one. Okay, so register with CG key. They are saying that this is the process. So to register, 1, click register with a CG key below. Number 2, click sign up. Number 3, read the terms and conditions and click I accept. Okay. Number 4, you create a username. You click continue. Create a password. Continue. Create your security questions and responses. Click continue. Then you have to sign up the complete page. Then you read terms and conditions. Then click I accept. Then that is all. You will get your account created. So let's go through one after the other. So I am clicking here, register with GCK. So they are asking us our username and password. We do not have it. We cannot sign in. What we are going to do is to say sign up. Okay, so we are going to sign up. We click here. Okay, then they are asking us terms and condition. We have to read this terms and condition. Then we select I accept. So we have accepted the terms and condition. Now they are asking us to create a username. The username, you have to make sure that your username is easy to remember. Then avoid personal information such as your name, social insurance number, and a whole lot. So you have to use any other name apart from your main name. Then you should also keep your username secure and do not share with anyone. So I am going to create any other username that I know. When I was in JHS, my nickname was Exhibit. Let's add some numbers. So Exhibit 8000. Okay, Exhibit 8000. Let's click continue and see if it will allow us. Okay, so it's just allowed us. Then we are going to create a password. The password, you should remember, they are saying that the password should be between 8 and 16 characters, at least an uppercase, a lowercase, one digit, and must not contain 3 or more consecutive characters from your username. So we shouldn't create any password that will contain that exhibit that I use, because I said my username is exhibit 8000, right? So we have to omit that exhibit in the creation of our password. So any other word or something to create our password. All right. So I am typing my password over there. I created a password now, and I need to confirm my password. So I have to repeat. Okay, let's see if it matches with the first one, then they will allow us. Okay, voila, we are here. So they are asking us to select a recovery question. This is required. So a question and an answer. So the first question is, what is my pet's name? Let's use the first question, okay? And I remember that my pet is a dog, and I called it Action. So I would say Action is my pet. So that is the answer I am giving to the first question. What is my first pet's name? I say Action. That is the name of the pet. The second one is my memorable person. So I might say my mom. Okay, my mom. So my mom is Beatrice. So I'm going to say Beatrice. Right? So Beatrice. Then hint. I will say mom, so that anytime I can remember that I used my mom as my memorable person. Then memorable date, I can say my best friend's date of birth or something else. Okay, so my memorable date, that is the next question. And let's say I used the day I completed university, so I'm going to say 2017, and that was in August. I remember August, so I would say 08. Okay, then the day was 15th, so 15th August. Then memorable hint date, that is a graduation date. Okay, graduation date, that is my memorable hint or date hint. Okay, all right, then we click continue. So they are going to say that we should enter email address, so that they will send a verification code, then we accept. So I'm going to skip here and enter the email address, confirm the email address, and click continue.